Hey, Washington Commanders fans! You won't believe the bomb I'm about to drop here, and I need you to stick with me until the end, because these two pieces of news could literally change the course of our franchise in the coming years. The first one involves one of the most talented wide receivers in the NFL, who might be available this offseason due to a completely crazy situation happening behind the scenes, and his connection with our quarterback will get you excited. But wait, because the second piece of news is even more important and urgent. We have a crucial decision about Jayden Daniels that needs to be made during this bye week. And what the experts are saying will make you question whether we really want him to come back this season. Before we start, subscribe to the channel right now and turn on all notifications because you can't miss any updates on these developing situations. And give that like to show that you're an engaged fan. So let's start with the news that could be the best thing happening to us this offseason. Brandon Aiyuk, the wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers, who has already been a league star, might be available for signing. And I'm not talking about a complicated trade where we would have to give up valuable draft picks. I'm talking about the real possibility of him becoming an unrestricted free agent, because the situation between him and the 49ers has reached a breaking point. According to reports from Diana Rossini and Michael Silver of The Athletic, Aiyuk has not been attending meetings and has refused to participate in other team activities over the past few months. The San Francisco organization is getting increasingly frustrated with his lack of communication, and things have gotten so bad that they've taken drastic measures. The 49ers responded to this situation by voiding the guaranteed money in Aiyuk's contract for 2026, claiming that his absences constitute a breach of contractual obligations. And it gets even more interesting. According to various league sources, Aiyuk has told NFL Players Association representatives that he does not want to contest this decision through a formal grievance. This basically paves the way for him to be released at the end of the season, and when that happens, he will be free to sign with any team without the 49ers receiving any compensation. Look, I know it sounds too good to be true, but assuming that these reports are accurate, it's clear that both sides agree to go their separate ways, and San Francisco is willing to do so even without receiving draft picks in return. If Aiyuk is actually released at the end of the season, Washington immediately becomes the leading candidate on the list of interested teams, and there are very specific reasons for this that go beyond just our obvious need to strengthen the receiving core. Remember last offseason when Aiyuk was trying to force a contract extension with the 49ers? He and Jayden Daniels caused a huge stir on social media with posts and snippets of interviews that clearly indicated the duo's strong interest in reuniting. They were teammates at Arizona State Sun Devils before Aiyuk went to the NFL, so there's real chemistry between the two. Daniels ended up transferring to LSU, where he became a winning quarterback and the second overall pick of the 2024 draft. Now just imagine the possibility of finally bringing these two guys together here in Washington. Look, I know there's no guarantee that Adam Peters would be willing to meet Aiyuk's contract demands, but considering the receiver hasn't played an NFL game since October of last year, his negotiating power would be quite limited. He can't come demanding a huge contract when he's been sidelined for several months due to disciplinary issues and relationship problems with the old team. The fact that he'll only be 28 at the start of next season means he's still in the prime of his career and can bring that revitalizing energy that we so desperately need. Peters has been heavily criticized for not doing more to strengthen the receiver group during the 2025 preseason, and this would be the perfect chance to rectify that mistake. At first glance, it seems like we did quite a bit by bringing Deebo Samuel from San Francisco, renewing Noah Brown's contract, and selecting Jalen Lane in the draft, but reality has shown that it wasn't enough. Brown's extensive injury history flared up again this season, and Terry McLaurin's long holdout for a new contract resulted in his absence for most of the season due to that nagging thigh injury. If we want to start winning again in 2026, we need to do much more with the receiver group, and Aiyuk would be a perfect addition. His connection with Daniels already exists. They know each other's strengths, and we wouldn't have to waste precious time building that chemistry from scratch. It's the type of opportunity that doesn't come around often, and if Peters doesn't go after it with full force, he'll be making a huge mistake. Now let's move on to the second piece of news, which is equally important, but of a completely different nature. We're in the bye week with a depressing record of 3 wins and 8 losses, and this is not a week of rest at all. One of the most important decisions of the season is about to take a big step during these days off, because Jayden Daniels is being reevaluated once again to check on his recovery from that elbow dislocation. Dan Quinn has stated that the team will have updates on Daniels after the bye week, and then we'll need to decide if he can and should play, considering that the playoff spot is already completely out of reach. This is the kind of decision that could have enormous implications for his future and the franchise's. 2 NFL experts shared their opinions on how the team could approach Daniels' return, and there's one crucial factor that will dictate everything: time. Dan Graziano from ESPN stated that from what he's hearing, the plan in Washington is still for Daniels to return to the starting lineup as soon as the doctors clear him from the elbow injury. It sounds simple and straightforward, but Jeremy Fowler, also from ESPN, has a slightly different perspective on the situation. He reported that sources indicate that although Daniels could return in just 3 weeks after the injury, the team is prepared for a 5 to 6 week absence out of caution. This leads Fowler to believe that keeping the quarterback off the field is still a real possibility, considering his struggles this season with 3 distinct injuries and the current situation of the team. These may seem like two conflicting opinions about Daniels' return, but both actually have a very similar time factor. When Daniels receives the official medical clearance to play, it is highly likely that he will return to the field to finish the season. But this may also take longer than expected, as Fowler mentioned, with that 5 to 6 week forecast out of precaution. And this is where the situation gets complicated and forces us to ask tough questions about what is truly best for the future of our franchise quarterback. If he needs a full 6 weeks to recover from the elbow dislocation, he would only return in Week 16 against the Philadelphia Eagles, playing just 3 games to close out the season. Is it really worth it to put him at risk in those last 3 games? Think with me here, he would be throwing to targets who probably won't even be on the team next season, and we aren't sure if Terry McLaurin will play or not. The passing game has been struggling quite a bit with the lack of quality options. So when does this start to hurt Daniels' development? He would have to play practically alone without the necessary tools for success, and that could create bad habits or affect his confidence. Of course, we all want to see Daniels on the field when he's healthy, that's not the issue, but what we've seen from this completely depleted team this season has shown that the offense has serious structural flaws. Maybe the benefit of putting Daniels in for these last games isn't as great as we initially imagined. There is also the question of protecting our most important investment. Daniels has already suffered 3 distinct injuries this season, and forcing a premature return just for pride or to avoid looking like we've given up on the season could have severe long-term consequences. If he returns before fully recovered and suffers another injury, we would be putting his entire career at risk, and that would be absolutely unacceptable. On the other hand, keeping him sidelined when he is medically cleared to play could affect his development and create a strange dynamic in the locker room. It's a delicate line that the organization needs to walk very carefully, and there's no easy or obvious answer to this situation. Time will dictate everything, as the experts mentioned, and we need to trust that the management will make the right decision. So, look where we are. We have the real possibility of acquiring an elite wide receiver who already has chemistry with our quarterback, but at the same time, we need to decide whether this quarterback should return to play this lost season or not. These are 2 completely different but equally important situations for the future of the franchise. The decision about Aiyuk will show whether Peters has learned from the mistakes of not properly reinforcing the receiver group, and the decision about Daniels will show whether the organization is prioritizing long-term success over any other consideration. Both decisions will define much of what happens to us in the coming years, and we need to get both right if we want to be competitive again. The question I leave you to ponder is this: if you were Adam Peters and had to make these 2 crucial decisions, would you chase after Brandon Aiyuk, even knowing his disciplinary issues with the 49ers and the risk of signing a big contract with someone who hasn't played in months? And at the same time, would you let Jayden Daniels return to play this lost season, risking another potentially serious injury? Or would you prioritize his health and proper development by keeping him sidelined until next season, when we will have a better roster around him